Mike McRae, right music. On today's conversation, we're going to talk about tubes. We're going to talk about how the tubes in your tube amp is a part of the signal chain that's very important to your overall sound. I would say it's as important as the pickups of your guitar, whether they're single coil or humbuckers. The next component of that would be really super important is your speaker as well. The type of amp that you have too. If you're trying to get Marshall tones out of a Fender, you're just not going to get there. So all these factors really contribute to your overall sound. I always talk about that subjective because everybody has their own taste. For my taste, I like a driven Marshall sound for recording, whether it's my Telecaster or humbuckers now with the Epiphone 59. So I brought my Wang out, so you take a look at it. No, actually, this is actually pronounced Wong's, and this is a fantastic boutique tube amp. These are handmade by order. These are a British voice, a Marshall voiced amplifiers, this particular one, 15 watt amp. Great for recording. It has a wonderful tone to it that, you know, for the price that you would pay for this, just by the way, you know, they would charge, if you got the Marshall, that this is the equivalent of I believe it's a JCM 800, then you're talking about 3 or 4 times more than budget. And I was really amazed by this amp. I loved it so much, in the tone of it. It is my main recording amps, but everything goes through. Now I know these days the Axe-Fx and the other stomp boxes, the modern ones out there, they can do all your modeling for you. They can model an amp, they can model even pickups and things. They can model certainly different pedal sounds. But for me, there's really nothing that really works in any of those that I've demoed yet that comes close to what using an actual tube amp is. And I actually do kind of myself straddle the line. This box is the Cab Zeus. This is a speaker emulator. So I use a real tube amp, but I use a speaker emulator to run it through for recording. And that's my kind of hybrid, and that's how I do it. Now with this amp, you have a 12AX7 in the V1 position and also in the V2 position. That's the preamp. In the power amp section, you have a 12AX7 and an EL84 as well. Now I found that this amp had a brightness to it that I thought that I could change. And how did I do that? Well, I did it by changing away from the 12AX7 tube and switching in a 12AXY7. So the AXY7 in the V1 position should take a little bit of that brightness out and give a mellow tone, a bluesier tone to your amp. And that's what I mean. Instead of trying to change the pickups of my guitar or trying to add a pedal or do something that so that would be a very expensive fix if you thought about, okay, I'm going to change my pickups out of my guitar, maybe that'll do it. Maybe I need to get XYZ pedal. No. What I would do is, if you had a 2 amp, I would experiment with different tubes in it and try to see what kind of sounds those tubes will give you. The modern tubes, again, like I said, this AXY7 will give you a bluesy tone to your output. The 12AXY7 will give you a brighter tone. Now, these are just 2 of the types of tubes that you can use. These are modern tubes. I believe these are about $14 or $15 a piece. So a good friend of the channel, Funky Pat, shout out to Funky Pat, was kind enough to send me a lot of match sets of new old stock tubes from the 60s. And these are the bet. Really, if you want to play around in the tone of your amp, then I would suggest going out and researching and trying to find some old stock, new old stock tubes from the 60s. The manufacturing process on these tubes versus the made in Russia, or in some cases made in China. Those are the two main producers of tubes these days, whereas back in the day it used to be Great Britain #1 and the United States and Canada #2. The processing of this tube back in the day is different from the processing, the creation of this tube these days. There is a mojo to these vintage tubes. They're not cheap, they're very expensive. Once again, thanks to Funky Pat for giving me some. So yeah, that's a really short tutorial today on things that you can do to improve your sound cheaply in that signal chain that will, give you closer, will get you closer to the sound that you're looking for if you swap out those tubes in the V1 position in your tube amp. If you don't have a tube amp, then I don't think this applies to you. You should. This is my recording amp. This is what everything gets recorded through. And, I'm doing the hybrid thing, again, like I said, using the IRs that are loading into the Cab Zeus there. So as I mentioned, for me, having a tube amp is the way to go. I'm doing a hybrid thing here where I'm using the Cab Zeus IRs for my speaker outputs, which is fantastic because I have a selection of speakers to run this true tube amp through. And again, it's a short tutorial today on just a little simple fix that you could do to your tube amp in order to improve your sound. It's worth looking into. I think for me, today, as a matter of fact, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to see how it sounds with some of these matched vintage 12AX7 tubes. Just to see what kind of I like the tone I got, but there's always room for improvement, or I might not like it and I switch back. But again, it's a very inexpensive thing for me to do, as opposed to changing pickups or buying some kind of EQ pedal or something like that. No, this is one of the first things that you should be thinking about. Think about that signal chain. Think about those pickups going into your pedal board, or possibly going directly into your amp. And then what kind of speaker is that coming out, sounds coming out of. So those are all very important steps. And it kind of sucks if you're a guitar or bassist, a guitarist or bassist, because these are the investments that eventually you're going to have to make if you continue to pursue this. But I'm here to tell you the cheapest and easiest and quickest fixes in order to achieve a fantastic sound that's your own. Again, you should be chasing your own tone, using the artists that you like as a guide, but never as, the way. Your own way is the best way. In any case, thank you for taking the time to sign in with us today. Thank you for all of our new subscribers. I am really, really appreciative of everybody that signed up on the backs of the last couple of videos. If you haven't signed up yet, if you haven't subscribed with us, we got a lot of great stuff like this every week, so why don't you take the time to do that. And if you like what you heard today, you can make a comment down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. And until the next show, you guys take care. Bye-bye.